Okay, I think it's time to move to higher resolution, to Dynamesh in the last, the final resolution. And before, I think it's time to fix the big forms, make them more realistic, and then finally, when the all the other forms, except like the facial little tiny features, are done, then we can Dynamesh it to the smaller resolution and finish the sculpting. So we want to find some kind of like a some middle ground between like the completely realistic, completely organic, and completely angular, basically blockout. So we don't want to get rid of the blockiness completely, and the reason is there's like a couple of reasons. Like one of the reasons is that if it's too organic, then it's boring. So it needs to be strong. The form should be strong. So if we leave some blackoutness, then it kind of, as I mentioned before, it gives some kind of like a power to the form. Therefore, we leave some blockiness. And the second reason is we don't need any more blockout because the blockout is a transitional stage, and it helps us to understand like the forms. Because like as more organic we go, as I said, we as less control we have over the shapes. So basically, you need to develop the ability to see tiny things. And if you don't have that ability, then you need to use sharp edges and planes just to control the form. As I said, it's like a similar to the horizon. So basically, if you look at the sea, there's a horizon, and if you do the drawing of the sea, or any drawing where you have horizon, you start it as a line. So you draw the line and then you put the water from one side and then the skies from the other side. But the thing is, in reality, in real life, there is no such thing as line. It's just like just like the place where these two elements meet, yeah, the air and the water. And as soon as you find the correct place for that meeting point, then you don't need anymore any line. So same thing with the points. Of course, there is some points in life, but in geometry, point is abstract. So basically, point doesn't have thickness, doesn't have radius. It's just like the place. It's just like the coordinate, and that's it. So the same thing in a sculpting. So you don't need too much of the geometry as further you go. So basically, it's just like the geometry as like lines and planes. They assist you to get to the correct place, but you don't need, as soon as you reach the destination, then you have to get rid of the most of the geometry that you were using as a scaffolding. But again, as I said, most, but I don't say completely. You don't want to get rid of it completely, because if you get rid of it completely, then it becomes very boring. Then it becomes too realistic. And as I say, like you don't want to make your sculpture completely realistic. Depends. Basically, if you want to simulate reality, you use all the techniques to make it as realistic as it is possible. But the thing is, nowadays we have photography, we have scanning, we have video capturing, we have finally we have artificial intelligence. We have all kinds of tools that can document the reality and make it like as it is, like real. But art, it's not the copying the world, it's not the copying the reality. It is basically, it is your own vision of reality. And that's why if you leave some artistic elements in your artwork, just enriches the work. So basically, it makes it more even real than reality, because it's almost like a poetry. So the poetry, it's not like explaining the reality. It's not like the explaining what's happening in the world or what's happening with us. It is telling more. It is not just the explanation about like the events in life. Let's say love poetry or love music. It doesn't tell just what happened, but it tells a story. And the same thing with the sculpture. So sculpture is also, it is telling a story. So you're telling the story about what you experience in life. And this story that you tell, it is not documentary. It is your vision. It is your interpretation. And that's why even if you like kind of trying to simulate reality and try to make as realistic as possible, the most of the realism is not in the copying. The most of the realism is seeing what other people don't see. So basically, you're finding out things that other people just are not capable of seeing. So maybe nostrils are a little bit too wide. The width of the nose is very much correlating with the nasal opening of the skull, and as wider opening you have, there is a bigger chance that this person has this warm climate ancestry. So basically, if you have some relatives coming from some warm climates, warm humid climates, then usually they have bigger nostrils and wider nose, and the reason is just for the cooling effect. So basically, if the person is coming from the colder climates, then the nostrils are smaller and the nose is much thinner and much more narrow, so it doesn't have this wide appearance. And if we are not making African or subcontinental person, then we don't make it too wide. We make it kind of more narrow than wide nose. So now I'm kind of cleaning up all the areas around and preparing it for the higher resolution, because if we dynamesh it in higher resolution, this getting rid of these details will be much harder. Basically, the smooth tool will work much slower. So as lower resolution you have, as faster you can do this. And about the top of the head, we don't worry absolutely, because we're going to put some kind of hair. So when I say some kind of hair, because I'm not going to carve every single hair, so I'm going to make some sculpted shapes, general shapes of the hair, and maybe some strains and directions. So not going to work too much on hair, just make them, as when you look at the classical Italian or Renaissance sculptures, and you see the hairs they don't sculpt individual hairs. So the first time when you start seeing individual hairs is maybe Michelangelo did some kind of things, but normally there's like a general shapes, and maybe Barocco was the time when they started to add some little tiny details in hairs. But in a classical art, it was unnecessary to make them, and that's another thing that kind of differs the beginner from the professional artist. So as more professional you become, as less obsessed about details you are. So basically, the young artists, the new artists, they usually are focused on the details, and later when they become more professional, they see the general form. And the reason is because when you're starting, you don't see those main forms. You just see just little tiny details, and you can't help to not to see them. And in every art school, one of the things that they teach you not to focus on small details before the work is done. So basically, whenever work is in creation process, you don't want to spend so much time on details, because you destroy your work. So because the general forms are not in place, by correcting those general shapes, you're destroying the details constantly. Whenever we're ready, the next step will be, as I mentioned, is going to be on the details. But now we kind of do pre-work before we dynamesh, maybe very last time, because maybe we need to introduce the objects with the subdivision levels. So when you introduce your work with subdivision levels, what happens? You are not anymore. There is no dynameshing anymore. And dynameshing, it means like the correcting the topology. So basically, if you have subdivision levels, time to time, this working on details start becoming very complicated, because the geometry does not allow you, because you know what I mean. So of course we can, with the projection option, we can always fix the topology. It's not a problem, but it's basically takes time, and you don't want to spend so much time on that. So therefore, we avoiding the subdivision levels as long as possible, and then later, when it will be absolutely necessary, then we will add some subdivision levels and then work with subdivision levels. Subdivision levels allow you actually to clean up the big shapes, and and to make your work being more efficient in terms of speed when you work with multi-million objects when they are very dense. That's basically with the ZBrush. That's a ZBrush feature. That's not the feature of the maybe other 3D programs. Yeah, so that this concha, this part, it's kind of like a round thing, and then it decreases here. So we have to introduce this roundness also here, mark the border of concha. So maybe no, this is too big. So let's mark when this concha ends. Maybe let's do it with a clay buildup with the alt. Basically, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to make a little like a cylindrical part here and not anymore here. Okay. Sometimes people use like the, they appending the ears as a separate objects, and then they can move around, and they already have some base mesh. That's very handy, but it's not so much fun as creating from scratch. Okay, so we want to make sure that it is kind of in the big shapes, in the main shapes, okay, before we dynameshing in a smaller density. So if we kind of like it, then we want to move ahead. Shapes are not so strong. Like the clavicle, basically it's visible here, then it goes over this gap between the deltoid and pectoralis, and then it should kind of blend in. But it seems as though that it's kind of very strong here. So let's get rid of the clavicle here in this area. Anyway, this is not about the torso. This tutorial is about like the head, but of course we want to make sure that the torso part is not wrong. So it can be maybe not perfect, it can be not super detailed, but at least it's not wrongly sculpted. So let's make sure that it's kind of okay here. So maybe we get rid of some shapes here. It looks better now. It seems like that the trapezius muscle is very thin here, so maybe we need to add some volume here.